Well, it's been a warm, humid summer, so I thought I would make a maintenance video for my YouTube page to help folks out with some trumpet maintenance. This is kind of a big step compared to the normal valve oil and greasing out the slide, but we're going to give the trumpets a bath. As you can see, I've taken all of the slides apart, taken the valves out, and leave them on a towel in the bathtub. And the towel is going to prevent a couple of different things. It's going to prevent the tub from getting scratched by the brass, but it's also going to prevent the trumpet parts from getting dinged and scratched by the tub. And the next part of the process is to make sure that the water that you're using is not warm. If water is too warm for this, then you risk the lacquer bubbling and being worn off of the trumpet. So you want to be very, very careful. Make sure the water is not warm or hot to the touch. I do about skin temperature, maybe a little bit more. This feels like it might be about 105. But you don't need hot water, you just need water. The other thing you want to be careful of is to not drop your phone in the water if you're filming this. Now I'm sure you can see in this picture that there are quite a few black streaks on the slides. I've actually had some difficulty with this instrument staying clean. I bought it at a closeout sale, and it had been in a warehouse for several years, and there's lots of lapping compound still finding its way out of all the nooks and crannies. I've actually had it just short of 2 years now, and I have had it professionally dipped once or twice in that time. So you can see that the difficulty here is kind of beyond my control, but I'm hoping that we'll clean some more of it out. You can see that I have a little bottle brush here. You can get one of these at your local grocery store, probably buy the coffee parts or something like that. Actually, I'm a home brewer, so I have this in my brewing supply kit, but I'm going to use this to kind of go in and out some of the slides very carefully, of course. Okay, first thing, this brush pushed into one of the valve guides, and I'm just going to gently go back and forth and get the stuff out of there. Nothing major. If you take good care of your instrument, it should be fine. Then we'll go in the third valve slide down here and back out, and the bottom, back out, tuning slide, into the lead pipe, mouthpiece receiver, just a little bit to get things loosened up in case there's anything really bad in there. Next, I'm going to take this brush and I'm going to very gently go through the ports in the pistons and just very carefully clean those out. They look pretty good. Nothing major in there. And we're just going to go with that brush in each little port. Maybe you can see, yeah, you can kind of see the little streaks in there, little brush marks. So even though it didn't look too bad, there was a little bit of grunge in there. So I'm going to grab this rag and I'm going to carefully thread it into those ports and see what we can do about cleaning that off. We just slid the rag right through there, give it a spin a time or two, and clean it up. As you can see, things are looking much better. There's still a couple spots in there that I will probably have to take to the pro shop to get done. Just a reminder that if you forget which valve is which, like maybe you forgot to put them down in order, 1, 2, 3, see there's a little number 1 right there. That's because that's the first valve. Okay, now to the main body. I'm going to take that same rag that I used for the valve ports, and I'm just going to scrub off the schmutz on these inner and outer slide pieces. Looking much better. Not perfect yet. Again, that next level probably best left to the pros. I'm going to take this main tuning slide and do the same thing. One of the things you want to always be aware of is the condition of the inside of your tuning slide. And that is looking beautiful and clean, which it should, because like I said, the horn's only a couple years old. And I've had it dipped professionally at least once. So it should be beautiful and clean in there. If you start getting some green around these edges, that's calcium deposits from all of the saliva that ends up in your instrument. You want to be careful to keep those down and blast those out as much as possible. This is the first horn I've had with these Amati water keys. I'm not a huge fan. They do come apart. I've taken them apart a time or two, and I'm not going to take them apart right now, but you can take them apart. There's a little spring in there. You can actually put a little drop of valve oil to keep that running smoothly. And again, with the calcium deposit kind of idea, sometimes these hang up a little bit. So keep them nice and clean. You can even keep a paper clip or something in your case, kind of ream that out a little bit, but a little drop of valve oil helps out a lot. Hey, look, as I pulled out one of the slides on that C trumpet, you can see those calcium deposits I was kind of talking about. A little bit green there. This horn is ready for a chem bath or an ultrasonic treatment to get that out of there. Perfectly normal. Okay, the valve bottom caps are probably going to be the worst part of any trumpet, and that's because of gravity and because of piston direction and all the other schmutz that ends up going through your instrument. So these get a lot of deposits. Yeah, it's probably been too long since I've done this, but again, this instrument has a tendency to be a little grimy on the inside. Someday I will get to the bottom of that. But I'm just going to take my rag again, and I'll just put this right in there. Give it a good scrub out with the thumb. Oh, look at all that came out of there. There we go. That still needs some work, so I'll be right back. There we go. A couple spins around with the rag. Get your finger right in there, and that is looking pretty good. On to the other two. Also, I'm going to take the rag, get these threads from the bottom valve caps cleaned out. You can see on the rag how grungy and awful the inside of those caps were. We'll wipe that down. And oh, I forgot to pull the second valve slide. Hey, it looks beautiful. Pristine condition in there, as it should be. Pop that in the tub. I'm just going to kind of wipe down all the outside surfaces, all the hand grease here over here on the serial number and the Valencia, Spain engraving. A little stuff in there too. This is a Stomvi horn. It's the Stomvi Combi B flat. I bought it in the fall of 2016. They had found it on a shelf in their warehouse in Spain and had kind of forgotten about it. It's a one-of-a-kind instrument at this point because they no longer manufacture this. So they sent it to the Los Angeles office and said, sell this. And so they put it on Facebook, and I saw it, and I wanted to buy it. You can see it has a two-piece bell. So it came with two different bells, the 72 and the 27. I'm sorry, the 25 and the 27. For different applications. One is for more orchestral type playing. One is for a little more chamber music. One is a brighter sound, one is a darker sound kind of idea. So now I've got that pretty well wiped down. It's looking pretty clean. Inside of the valves, cylinders, see that? Not very well. But anyway, they look pretty good. You'll have to trust me on that one. All right, now we're going to put it back together. Okay, well, let's put this back together. So I've gotten my tub of Lavaz Premium's tuning slide grease. I've had that since about the 8th grade, and I'm only about halfway through. This is literally a once-in-a-lifetime purchase for a trumpet player, because you just put this on the tuning slide very occasionally to get things situated. So I'm going to stick a little blob here on my finger, barely detectable, and do second valve slide first, because I grabbed it first. Doesn't matter what order you do it in. I always like to put it in one side at a time, just to get that grease a chance to work in there a little bit. And then I put both sides in and wipe off the excess grease from around there. And what's next? Oh, here's the first valve slide. Let's do that one next. So I'm going to dry that off. Don't tell my wife I'm using one of our good bathroom towels to do this. There's some oil and grease involved throughout this process unless you get this professionally done. And then they do either an ultrasonic cleaning or a chem bath kind of idea. And then they can use their shop rags and get that all greasy instead of my good bathroom towels. But there's the first valve slide, one side of it. There's the other side of it. And now we'll do both sides right in. In a little bit, we'll put a little valve oil on that slide and the third valve slide, which will help them to operate quickly as we're fine-tuning notes as we play. Third valve slide next. Quick dry with the towel. A little dab of tuning slide grease. I'm just touching my finger in there. I'm not scraping out the grease at all. And then some on the other side that's on the horn. Side number 1 in. Side number 2 in. This is kind of impossible because of the third valve ring and the spit valve. So we'll just do, there we go. Because it's a little stiff. When we put a drop of valve oil or two on that, it's going to speed right up. I'll do a little bit more grease on those two as well. I have a special grease and valve oil rag that I use for my trumpets. Okay, that's that. The tuning slide is next. Another wipe down. I don't remember the last time I did something like this for my instruments, because honestly I usually just take them to the music store. But I am a little bit frugal, only a little, and the process that my local music store uses is about $100, and that's fine. It's a great investment for this instrument, but we've just done it within the past year, It just doesn't need to be done that much. So we're just kind of cleaning out the summer stuff from this. Okay, tuning slide fits very snugly into the lead pipe. I had it adjusted a little bit because when I bought the instrument there was a slight leak. So we expanded that tube a little bit and potentially a little bit too much. So slide that back into the instrument. Kind of have to walk it down there and put it, you know, somewhere approximately in the in-tune area. And then bottom caps and valves go in, and you know how to do that, so I'll be right back. As long as we're here, let's talk a little bit about oiling valves before I put them back in. I use Hetman number 2. You can have arguments all day about what valve oil is the best, and some people will argue about their lifelong loves and that kind of thing. I like this one. It's a synthetic oil. I used to use Alcas, also fine. I've used Blue Juice. I've used Zaja oil. Zaja oil has a lot of scented ones, so you might like that. Anyway, find something you like. I just put a couple little drops on the piston. I don't soak it. And then let that piston slide right down. Pop it up and down a few times to get the oil worked around. Tighten down the valve cap. And that one's in business. I'm going to do the other two. Since these were dried completely off and we washed a lot of oil off of them, I'm probably going to need to oil them again this week. But in general, I only oil my valves when they really need it. If I feel them slowing down a little bit. Third one feels a little tacky. You have to hit that with some more oil. And I always wipe them down before I put more oil on them. Take it out, wipe it off with your trusty rag before you put it back in. Speaking of oil, let's put a little valve oil on this third valve slide, which we need, of course, for low D and low C sharp. And it doesn't move very fast right now at all. Got some slide grease on there. A drop or two of oil on each side. And we're going to work that in. And now it moves much faster, easier. And that's going to, again, work in as the next few days go on with my practicing. And that will, oh yeah, much better already. Slides right out. Do the same thing on the first valve slide. Drop, drop. That thing's going great. I need a new rubber band in there. Put a couple rubber bands in there so we don't get the clicking noise. And there we go. The next few days will be spent blowing the rest of the water out of here that's going to collect because, of course, it's not completely dry inside. But that is how you end up with a good, clean set of pipes. Thanks.